first thing I want to say is how delighted I was to be offered the privilege of being here this morning and part of this, the day of celebration of all your achievements. Like many of you, perhaps I was the first in my university, and the first in my family to go to university, and like many perhaps of the parents in this audience, my own knew very little about the system and certainly could give me no advice. My school was at the time in some upheaval, so through an oversight I was allowed to apply for a course about which I knew nothing, in which I had no intrinsic interest. And the reason I chose this particular university, I'm very ashamed of this, is because the member of staff who interviewed me had the look of an actor I very much admired at the time. Steve McQueen. And in spite of this deeply inauspicious start, I got a huge amount out of my university years, along with learning how to pick my way with confidence through tides of mud and how to avoid falling wall tiles, because my first year here was also Warwick's very first year, and pretty different it was too. What I learned here has coloured and enriched pretty well every book I've ever written. It is a tribute to Warwick that I was, in a word, rescued. And so I consider myself uniquely qualified to tell you how very lucky I now feel and how very privileged and proud of yourselves that you should all be at graduating today from this fine university. Young people in these days are wise to plan their lives more carefully than we ever did. Careers advice, back in my day, was a deal more primitive. My French teacher, Miss Willis, swept into school one day and told us irritably, "I've been timetabled to give you careers advice." Careers advice? I'll give you careers advice. Find out what you like doing most in all the world, and then look around for someone who will pay you to do it. And then, possibly because it was a girls' school, she added with little warning, "Within reason, girls," and swung around to write some more of her horrible French irregular verbs up on the board. And it was the best advice that I was ever given, because a life spent doing something you don't really want to do is a life at least partially wasted. And the touchstone of whether you really want to do something is actually the question, would I or would I not want to keep on doing this if I wasn't paid? I can assure you that the world is stuffed with people in jobs where if the money stopped, they'd stop without a moment of regret for the job itself. I'm well aware that many people don't have this luxury of choice, that in this hall right now are scores of parents who aren't fortunate enough to spend the hours of their working lives on something that they choose, but are earning their salaries for something else that is for them meaningful and important. Getting food on the table, keeping a roof over the heads of people they love, or helping you to get the education they are rightly confident that you will value all your life. So love and care for others can be enough, but if you have the chance to hit the real jackpot, to get it all, then what a privilege to spend your days doing a job you love and value so much that you would do it anyway. And how do you find out what that is? Well, you have to know yourself. That's what's important. You have to look inside yourself and ask, when am I most content? Doing what? Because this is the key to how you should be trying to steer your career in the right direction. For there is no point in being in a good profession if it is not the right profession for you. And it's important to take your own temperament into account. Some people are happy being cooperative. Other people hate it. It is important to know out of which box you come. From the day that I began in primary school, I have loathed working in groups. I've resented sharing. That's very probably why I'm so bad at marriage. And even to this day, shivers of horror and despair run down my spine if I hear that to others so innocuous little starter to a sentence. Now, why don't we all? Someone like me was born to work alone in silence, and I count it a relief and a privilege. If something stops me working for too long, then I get irritable. I have found the perfect job for me, and I am happy. And something being a pleasure doesn't make it less valuable. People have always learned from books. Children have learned the virtues they need to get through life from their fairy tales. They learn quick wits and resourcefulness. They learned courage and endurance, uphill, down dale. They learn good manners and kindliness. You be helpful to that old lady dressed in black by the well. She might turn out to be your fairy godmother or a witch. And in those same stories, a woman of my age did always seem to have the privilege of granting at least one wish. So I will, on top of my warmest congratulations to you all, I will take advantage this morning, just enough to wish all the young people in this hall security and happiness as they continue with their lives out there in the big, bad world. And to everyone else who's sitting here today and has helped them along the way, I wish the very best of good fortune. Thank you.